Hello, Jarrell here, the developer of the Silver Falls games. Today I wanted to share with you my process on how I create a game concept. How do I come up with an idea for a game? So the first thing that I consider when I'm working on a game is the mechanical function of the game. That is the absolute most important thing. Even before the story, the characters, the genre, the mechanical function should be the most important aspect of the game. So what do I mean when I say mechanical function? Well, if I ask you what the mechanical function of your toothbrush is, what would you say? Some people might say, oh, the toothbrush, it brushes my teeth. What does your car do? What's the mechanical function of your car? Oh, the car gets you from place to place. That's not totally correct. Those objects don't do things on their own. They allow you to do something. So the toothbrush doesn't brush your teeth. The toothbrush allows you to clean your teeth. A car allows you to get from place to place. So when I say the mechanical function of a game, that's what I mean. What does the game let the player do? So let's consider Three Down Stars. What is the mechanical function of Three Down Stars? The mechanical function of Three Down Stars is that it lets the players explore what is basically sort of an abandoned town frozen in time. It lets the players explore an open environment, collect resources, solve puzzles, experience a story, and combat enemies. And also with Frontier Fighters mode, it allows the player to have an open-ended sort of adventure where they can keep making their character stronger, they can collect skills, and they can create custom loadouts for those characters. So it allows the player to collect skills and weapons to defeat ever increasingly powerful enemies and take on ever increasingly difficult missions. That is the mechanical function of Three Down Stars. If we look at Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers, the mechanical function of that game is that it allows the player to take on different difficult missions every hour, day, and week. Missions are different every hour, day, and week, so it allows the player to take on ever-changing missions with varying challenges. It allows the player to collect equipment and skills, and it allows the player to collect and use different teams of different characters. So that's what I mean when I say the mechanical function of a game. And secondly, the most important part of the game is, well, there are two things. I sort of lump these things together, is the complexity of the game and the scalability. So scalability, say for example, let's look at the story mode of Three Down Stars. The scalability of that is quite fixed. Players are able to sort of solve puzzles, collect items, collect weapons, use resources. The scalability of that mode is that if I want that mode to be bigger, I would have to create more story, more environments, more items, more enemies. When I have a mode like Frontier Fighters, the scalability of that is infinite. I can keep having different missions. You can keep using different characters with different loadouts. The scalability of Frontier Fighters is basically infinite. Whereas with story mode, you'll find the scalability on that is quite fixed because it reaches a point where it no longer increases in scale, and that's it. And you'll find basically every game has to adhere to this, except for live service games, which have infinite scalability because we can keep adding more content to live service games. Unless you're Marvel's Avengers, then you're dead. So the next is the complexity. So the complexity is the mechanical depth and the amount of variety in the mechanics of your game. So I would compare Three Down Stars, the complexity, to Ghoul Busters. In Ghoul Busters, the complexity is not that high. The player character can jump. They can either perform a long-range attack if they are playing as Atticus, or they can perform a short-range attack if their character is Starlin. In Three Down Stars, you have a wide range of weapons, items. You have items that can boost your stats. You have weapons of all different kinds that allow you to perform complex combos. And then you have Frontier Fighters, which takes that even further, and it has around 100 skills, which really change up how you can play the game. And of course, each playable character adds significant complexity in terms of mechanics because the way they perform and handle is very different. Then you look at a game like Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers, which has an immense amount of complexity because each character has their own setup of skills and stats that allows that character to um, excel in particular missions and then to be at a massive disadvantage in other missions. You also have the weapons, which allow you to have different skills attached to those characters that allow their stats to be different ways you can enhance your weapons as well. So I would say for Ghoulbusters, the complexity and the scalability are not that high. And in terms of scalability, that's quite difficult because I have to keep creating new levels in order to scale up, which is why I'm very excited to be working on the new mode for Ghoulbusters, which is Frontier Busters. And this mode will allow players to take on uh, missions of varying difficulty and varying tasks. It allows players to collect weapons and skills and to power up characters, to unlock more characters, and to keep enjoying the gameplay of Ghoulbusters in a different way. So that adds an immense amount of scalability and complexity to Ghoulbusters. So I will be launching Frontier Busters as a free update to Ghoulbusters later this year. So please look forward to that. I'll share more news as that comes available. And I'll be finishing up Guardians and Metal Exterminators pretty shortly. Again, I don't want to rush that. I want to take my time and make sure it's just right. And I'm at the point where I'm trying to see if I can get multiplayer working on that. So couch co-op, I can't promise that. I'm trying to see if I can get it working because the game itself was not designed for co-op. And I'm trying to see if there's a way where I can work that into where you can have multiple players playing. So again, I can't promise that. I'm working on it, and we'll see if we can do that. So that is the technical way of how I design a game. Now, the personal way of how I design a game and how I come up with a game concept is usually I'll sit up late at night and I'll just sort of think to myself, and I think, what kind of game do I feel like right now? What kind of game do I personally feel like playing? Do I feel like an RPG? Do I feel like a platformer? Do I feel like an adventure, like a sort of a 70s or an 80s game, you know, where you sort of explore and wander around? So on a personal level, I come up with my game concepts based on, I sit up late at night, I sort of starve myself of like any kind of audio, visual, anything, any sort of entertainment, any sort of media. I kind of starve myself for a while, and then I sit there late at night. So it's kind of like, what do they call those? Like sensory deprivation chambers. I suppose I do something like that a little bit. And I sit there late at night, I think, what do I feel like? What kind of game do I want? What do I think would be really fun? And so after I consider the mechanical function of the game, so on a personal level, I feel, what do I feel like playing? I consider the mechanical function of the game, and then I connect that back to the Silver Falls universe. So I look at all of my documentation, I look at the characters that I have available, I look at the time frames, sort of the decades, which still have a lot of stories that need to be told. Um, Sometimes I'll base it on some monsters because I create different monsters, cryptids. And if I feel like, you know, oh, I'd really like to make the game with this cryptid that I've designed now, I'm kind of feeling this one right now, then I'll design a game around that. For example, Undertakers was one game that's monster-led. Guardians and Metal Exterminators is a game that's partially monster-led because I really wanted those exterminators to be front and center. That's part of the name as well. I came up with a design for them that I thought was just fun and charismatic, and it felt like an 80s sort of vibe. So when I'm considering the game, I either let the monsters lead, or I'll pick a particular story that I want to tell that doesn't have a character attached. Or if I don't do that, I will pick a character which I know that I've written a significant amount of lore and story for this character, and I'll say, all right, now's a good time. This character fits the genre that I want. This character fits the style of game that I want, and I will build it from there. It's very important to have scalability, and so I never just say this game is going to be this exact thing, and that is all. For example, in Ghoulbusters, sure, the scalability comes down to the number of levels, but it also comes down to the gimmicks. In Ghoul Busters, every level has its own unique specific gimmick, and that is where the scalability comes in. If I sat there and spent more time, I could think up of more unique mechanical gimmicks to create new levels, and that is where the scalability comes in. The framework of the game can handle basically anything that I can think up, and that is important, that you design a game that can handle that sort of scalability, so you have the potential for scalability. If you do not leave room for scalability, then your game will feel very constricted, and it'll feel like it's being hampered and held back because you didn't leave room for scalability. So those are the things that I consider. I've been developing games for who knows how long. I don't keep track. If you'd like to check out Ghoul Busters, that's on the Nintendo Switch. I think I'm putting it on sale later this month. And please don't forget to check in on the 4th of July. We'll be doing a live stream hangout, and I will be giving out the Code Linker content for 3 Down Stars, the North American version. You can get the exclusive All-American outfits for Holt, Annalise, and Moss, and I'll be giving away one actual real Holt's All-American shirt to some winner out there. So I'll announce that during the stream. I hope that topic was interesting to you. Take care, everyone. I'll see you around.